The Ghost of Art by Charles Dickens. I am a bachelor, residing in a rather dreary set of chambers in the Temple. We are situated in a square court of high houses, which would be a complete well, but for want of water and the absence of a bucket. I live at the top of a house among the teals and sparrows. Like a little man in the nursery store, I live by myself, and all the bread and cheese I get, which is not much, I put upon a shelf. I need scarcely add, perhaps, that I am in love, and that the father of my charming Julia objects to our union. I mention these little particulars as I might deliver a letter of introduction. The reader has no acquaintance with me, and perhaps will consent to listen to my narrative. I am naturally of a dream turn of mind, and my abandoned leisure, for I am called to the bar, coupled with much lonely listening to the twittering of sparrows and the pattering of rain, is encouched with disposition. In my top set I have a wind howl on a winter night, and the man on the ground floor believes it is perfect still weather. The dim lamps with which our honourable society, supposed to be yet under the cognizance of a new discovery called gas, makes the horror of the staircase visible, deep the gloom which generally settles on my soul when I go home at night. I am in the law, but not of it. I can't exactly make out what it means. I sit in Westminster Hall sometimes in character from 10 to 4, and when I go out of court I don't know whether I'm standing on my wig or my boots. It appears to me, I mention with confidence, as if there were too much talk and too much law, as if some grains of truth started overboard into the tempestuous sea of chaff. All this may make me mystical. Still I am confident that what I am going to describe myself as having seen and heard, actually did see and hear. It is necessary that I should observe that I have a great delight in picture. I am no painter myself, but I have studied pictures and written about them. I have seen all the most famous pictures in the world. My education and reading have been sufficient generally to possess me beforehand with a knowledge of most of the subject to which a painter is likely to have recourse, and although there might be in some doubt as to the rightful fashion of a scabbard of King Leonard's sword, for instance, I think I should know King Leonard tolerably well if I happen to meet with him. I go to all the modern exhibitions every season, and of course I revere the Royal Academy. I stand by its 40 academical articles almost as firmly as I stand by the 39 articles of the Church of England. I am convinced that in neither case could there be, by any rightful possibility, one article more or less. It is now exactly 3 years. 3 years ago, this very month, since I went from Westminster to the Temple, one Thursday afternoon in a cheap steamboat. The sky was black when I imprudently walked on board. It began to thunder and lighten immediately afterwards, and the rain poured down in torrents. The deck seemed to smoke with wet. I went below, but so many passengers were there, smoking too, that I came up again, and buttoning my pea-coat, and standing in the shadow of a paddle-box, stood as upright as I could, and made the best of it. It was at this moment that I first beheld the terrible being who was the subject of my present recollections. Standing against the funnel, apparently with the intention of drying himself by the heat as fast as he got wet, was a shabby man in rare black, with his hands in his pockets, who fascinated me from the memorable instant when I caught his eye. Where had I caught that eye before? Who was he? Why did I connect him all at once with the Vicar of Wakefield, Alfred the Great, Gay Glass, Charles II, Joseph and Just Breton, the Fairy Queen, Tom Jones, the Medicament of Brushton, Tam O'Shanter, the Marriage of a Dog of Venice with the Adriatic, and the Great Plague of London? Why, when he bent one leg and placed one hand upon the back of a seat near him, did my mind associate him wildly with the words, "Number 142, Portrait of a Gentleman"? Could it be that I was going mad? I looked at him again, and now I could have taken my evidence that he belonged to the Vicar of Wakefield family. Whether he was the Vicar, or Moses, or Busher, or the Squire, or a conglomeration of all four, I knew not, but I was appealed to seize him by the throat and charge him with being, in some fair way, connected with Prince Rose's blood. He looked up at rain, and when now heaven, he became Saint John. He folded his arms, resigned himself to the weather, and I was frantically inclined to address him as a spectator, and firmly demand to know what he had done with Sir Roger de Coverley.